The conditional statement. So most of you already have heard about the conditional statements earlier. If else condition, basically that we use in our day to day life in communication as well. Like if something happens, then what, like in English communication we basically say if and then. In the basically Python programming we do call it as a if else. So the thing is, like, only the condition, wherever we would like to apply some conditions either on our any type of data types, for example on string, on integer, or maybe on a float, you can simply use the if else condition in order to restrict something or maybe apply the condition, and then you can proceed further on your codes. So the basically if else condition has like some test expression that we would like to test. If that particular condition or the expression or maybe the sentence that we have earlier defined is true, then this will enter inside that particular body means the code snippet. Basically, for example, if I say the data type of the particular items that I am providing, if that is integer, then and then only I wanted to do the addition. If the data type of particular entry is not basically the integer, then basically the loop will fall. So the simple example, for example, the data types. So you do know that how to check the data types for the integer. For example, I have defined x as a 3. So how I can check the type of this particular data set, guys? I wanted to check if that is integer or no. Yes, so with the help of type we can basically get the basically the integer. So that is integer. So if type of x that we already have defined is integer, I'm not sure like if that is straightforward will work or no. Let's see. So yes, like we are basically checking the type of x, and type of x should be the integer. Then and then only we can able to print whatever, or maybe you can define anything. For example, you want to add the like x with that particular x means, or maybe you wanted to do the addition of 3 times, or with the multiplication, anything that you are interested to perform over here. So that is like where we can implement that in order to remove the errors. For example, if I do like string addition can be possible, but sometimes addition of string can give you the weird answers. For example, x is equal to 3, and if I see like I'm not able to get the any kind of answer, the reason is type of this particular x is integer. But if I directly do the addition of this 3 times, for example x plus x plus x, so that will give me 333, which is not even correct. Just a second. So this is where we can basically restrict something. So in order to perform any operations, like it can be any conditions that comes in Python. For example, you would like to see the booleans, or maybe the simple example about the like COVID-19 situation, that you wanted to see how many doses particular person has taken in order to say the particular person is a fully vaccinated. If the person has taken doses exactly equal to 2, then and then only he is a fully vaccinated. For example, if count of doses, or maybe we can define the doses initially as our variable itself. If the person has taken 2 doses, like if the doses equal to 2, then and then only we can say like print. You can define anything inside the print. As I say, like only thing is that you need to pass the any string. So string means explanation. So whatever the operation or maybe whatever the condition you are performing over here inside the body, you basically wanted to print a simple statement. So you can say probably the fully vaccinated, or maybe the person is fully vaccinated. So you can write in your own language. So if the person has taken only 1 dose, so this will not printed over here. So that's the right reason else came into the picture, where we can basically, if the if condition is not satisfying, then we can go with the else. For example, else. So else means anything. other than this particular. So we can say that print, for example, not sure, like if person has taken 3 vaccination, we are not sure what to return. If the person has taken 0 vaccination, then still we are not sure. So something like that you can print basically in order to your conditions. Probably you do know that the input for that particular variable is gonna be only the 1 and 2. So in that situation you can say that like partially vaccinated. If you like in the future example we will see how exactly all the combination we can tackle with the help of like different conditional statements that we do have. But so far I'm just trying to explain how the conditionals are being used in real life situations whenever we would like to perform the some operations. For example, this is basically the condition. So condition in conditional specifically for the if and else, as I say, it starts with the if. It has to be all small letters. If you type something like that, this is not acceptable. If you type something like that, this is not acceptable. Another way, if you would like to understand if whatever the condition you have written is correct or no, this will directly give you the color in a red format. So all the keywords, the earlier we have studied what are the different keywords Python variables or maybe the identifier can achieve or maybe are basically allowed. So all those, as I say, whichever is not a part of keyword, whichever is a part of Python inbuilt keyword, that always comes in a green letter. So that is like another way of understanding. Then after that you can assign any type of condition. For example, the logical operators that we have studied. So as I earlier mentioned, logical operators you mostly use in a, or maybe the any arithmetic operators or maybe the assignment operators you mostly use in a conditional statement, because you wanted to add the like some conditional. So equal to is a basically equal to conditions. Over here, in order to define any variable, we basically use single equal to sign. But in order to see if that particular variable is exactly equal to 2 or no, so for that we do use this 2 equal to signs and then any conditions there. So this is nothing but the your condition. This is nothing but the like how you can define your if statement. And whenever you are defining any conditional statements, you always have to add this double colon after that particular statement. So the keywords that basically being specifically used for your condition, then the condition that you need to provide over here. For example, equal to 2, or maybe the greater than 2, or maybe the less than 2, not equal to 2, anything you can mention over here as a your logical operators. Then equal to, and inside that this is nothing but the your body which comes over here. So you can define anything. For example, you probably wanted to say simple statement in a written format as a fully vaccinated, or maybe that particular person's credit that you wanted, like in high level view, like if government have decided the particular, or maybe the any malls that we already know, if we would like to give the entry into the mall or maybe into the movies, the person has to be the fully vaccinated. So we can add the like condition that if the person doses is exactly equal to 2, then allow him in a mall, or maybe the allow him in a basically the movie theaters, or maybe do the subtraction, addition, division, so whatever the arithmetic things you wanted to perform. So let's just discuss the if else condition with more examples in order to understand what exactly it can help you in order to build your logical conditions in a Python. So for example, the credit score, like one of the example that is mostly being used in a finance company, that if your credit score is greater than 600, or maybe you can define over here as a greater than equal to. So whichever the logical operator says, sometimes you wanted to define the strictly greater than sign, or sometimes you wanted to define something like that greater than equal to. It's up to you. And then person is eligible for a loan, or maybe as I mentioned over here, you can print anything. It's your choice what things you wanted to get output, or maybe the print over here, because we are simply discussing about the like body of the if condition. So these two statements are a body of the if condition. So there is no restriction that how many sentences you can add. You can write like entire 100 lines of code as well inside that particular if condition. If the parent condition is allowing you, or maybe that particular condition is satisfied, then and then only you can perform all the operations. For example, you are applying for a data science interview, and then if the particular person has completed the graduation, then we will enter inside the loop and see if that particular person has a Python knowledge or no, if the particular person has a GitHub, yes, no, something like that, like additional conditions we can define. So that is also we will discuss. But as I said, inside that particular condition, so this is basically the condition. Inside the condition, whenever you add the like sub condition, that usually takes the tab separated space. So if you come over here and if you print just an enter, so that will automatically detect that this is something condition or this conditional statement that you have defined, and Python can understand that and can automatically give you the spaces. Otherwise, if you are not sure and you are writing the if condition for the first time, so all you can do is basically just come over here and press the tab button that you have in your laptop keyboard. So that is like tab separated space. So what that indicates that whatever you are defining for that particular condition, this is nothing but your body basically. So inside the body, and over here only the body ends. But over here, if you write something like that, for example, x is equal to 7 and print x, so that is specifically outside your body. So there is not, this particular code snippet has nothing to do with this particular code snippet. As basically, as long as your next sentence or with the next line of your code starts when the if condition itself has started, it seems that this is like another snippet of code. This is another snippet of code. If you perform some addition, subtraction, multiplication over here, there is nothing to do with that. But if you add something inside that if condition, if this is true, let's just try to do that. For example, credit score I have defined 700, that is greater than 600. If we do 7, so that will give addition of two numbers. If the code is basically the 500, so this will not give an error. But if that is outside your if condition over here, so condition is not true, but this particular line of two codes are starting from like there is no space before that, so it's starting from like where the like line itself belongs. So you can see that like this particular code of snippet has nothing to do with this particular condition. So over here you can define something like that, the conditional statement started, and over here wherever you see that like the specific code is being added over here, for example, statement ended. So this is like another code snippet. So you can type anything, or maybe you can type, for example, I wanted to define y is equal to 3 and then do the multiplication of this y 3 times. So all this kind of stuff you can do that. That is also again another like code of snippet, and this is like only the condition. So what I'm trying to say over here is conditional statement. The definition of conditional statement is basically has to start with like this. This is your basically the condition, and this is like basically the body that starts like over here and ends over here. So inside the like end body you can print anything that you wanted to add. Okay, so all right, so another like this, the same example, as I say, like you can use the data, any kind of data types, for example the true, false, like the boolean data types as well. Like if true, you can see that like that this is basically the true, fixed true that you already have defined. So there is no point of defining a conditional statement where like you always are saying that true by default value. So you are not defining outside or somewhere, you are just providing that particular true value as a default value, and it's automatically gets run. But if there is like default value, that if you provide something like that, this will not get run. So only thing is that whenever the particular condition is true, then and then only the if conditional body is being executed. If the condition is false, then the particular body will not be executed. So that's the real reason I have added this boolean data type over here. So this like same example I already have explained, where the body start, where the body ends, and this is like another code of snippet where we can do all such a task outside that particular conditions. Okay, all right. So another example is if the 5 is greater than 2, if that particular condition being satisfied, then and then only we are entering inside the print statement, and we can print anything whichever we want. So basically I just have added the like multiple statements in order to understand the if and else condition. So it is just only the if condition. So we do know that 5 is greater than 2, then like basically that condition is true, and then the basically we are getting the output as a 5 is greater than 2. 5 is obviously is not basically the less than 2, so we are not able to get the output over here. But over here the output we are getting, the reason is that particular statement is out of if statement basically. So this if statement body usually ends over here itself, and as long as there is no extra space over here, you can understand that. So for that we basically call it as an indentation. For example, I add something like this and something like this, so this will give me an indentation error. It means that the required spaces that you have not added properly. So you can do tab separated. Even if you print like this will give an indentation error over here. The reason is the one space, whenever you would like to start Python coding in your Jupyter notebook or maybe any IDE, you are not allowed it. Basically you are not allowed to add the like single space, double space, anything. The sentence should start from the like over here itself. Like there should not, you should not add like extra spaces. So otherwise it will give you an error of an indentation error, just like how we got over here. Apart from that, like another example where as I say, whenever we are not only restricting about the if condition, and we still have something to do with the else as well, like if and then, like just like in English communication. So if something is not working, then something should work, something like that. So if that particular condition is true, it is coming as a correct, otherwise incorrect, whatever the condition we have defined. So you can define either in like basically open close brackets, or maybe you can define outside open and close brackets. So anything is basically allowed over here. So this is just another example. If I say over here as a is greater than 2, this will print as a correct. So just like small example I have added over here. Another one is like very popular example in mathematics is understanding the particular number is a even number or odd number. So can anyone let me know what are the like even numbers that we do have in mathematics, or maybe what's the definition of even number?
The number which is divided by 2 and the modulus is 0. That is the perfect division.
Yeah, that is true. So modulo is the like sign that we already have discussed in a logical operators, that there are like multiple signs you can use: plus, addition, subtraction, minus, or maybe the division and the modulo. So modulo means basically you, this basically gives you and value what's the like modulo have came. So we can play like one example over here. For example, x is equal to 5. So if I do x modulo 2, what will be the output?
It's 1.
Yeah, so it's basically trying to check. For example, if I define 4 over here, x modulo 2, whenever we perform like this, it will give us an exact output, either 1 or 0. That's the only thing we usually get out of it. The reason is we are just dividing by the 2. So either we will get 1, either we will get like basically the 0. So what we are trying to say, as Neelam explained, so whichever number is basically wherever we do the modulus with over the any number, and the output of that particular operation is exactly equal to 0, then and then only we do basically says that the particular number is a even number, otherwise it is odd number. So we already have ran the one example over here, x is equal x modulo 2. So this is something is a condition. So along with the operators and along with this basically the variable or maybe the Python identifier. So we basically apply all the condition all the operations on basically the variable itself. Or maybe you can try something like that, 5 modulo 2. So that will also give you an error over here also, like 5 modulo 2, that will give as a 1. So you can add, but that is the strict condition. You always wanted to change it in a real time. So that's the reason we have discussed the importance of assigning the particular value to a variable, so we can access. For example, I have defined if, and over here in the else as well, like some other condition, or maybe I wanted to do the for example print addition of that particular x number and x. So I am not able to add this at 5 locations or maybe the 6 location, 7 location. Instead of that, I can simply use the variable assignments that I already have defined and provided the some value over here. So only thing is that you always have to change this particular value. You don't have to change at multiple locations. So that's the like purpose and the requirement of defining the particular variable or maybe the assigning the value to any kind of identifier or maybe the variable names. So we basically are just checking that particular value that we have assigned to that particular identifier is modulus of 2. If the output of that x modulo 2 is exactly equal to 0, then we will get the like answer. So if I change something like over here as a 7, so what will be the output of this code snippet? What will be the output of this?
It is an odd number.
Yes, that's right. If I print something like that 1000 or with the 10,000, so what will be the output of this?
Even number.
Yeah, that is true. So and we basically are doing this x plus x. You can remove that, or you can keep as it is. So just this is like just a simple condition to check the particular number is odd or maybe the particular number is even. And over here we have used 3 things that we already have defined learned in our so far journey. One is assigning the particular variable. The second is we have implemented the assignment operator, which can give us output basically for the modulus. And the third one, the conditions. And basically the third one is a logical operator, and fourth one is the conditions. So for all the 4 things that we have incorporated in this simple example. So going further, you might will get confused about the like adding the multiple things together. Probably 5-6 things will get added in order to come up with a solution that the particular problem is being defined. So in order to understand all those small things, you basically have to do the practice. So that's the reason that we are assigning the multiple Python assignments or with the challenges, so that you will get the familiar with this kind of conditions and the multiple things, and it will be easy for you to understand. So the input is basically the Python inbuilt function. Input is specifically being used when you would like to ask someone to give the particular instruction. For example, in chatbot. So in chatbot you can type like, for example, in Siri or maybe the Google Assistant, you can basically provide the input by typing something. So same goes with the Python ID. So whenever we'll print that over here, you can pass any thing, integer, float, or maybe anything that is like applicable for you. So the problem with the input function is, even if you pass for example the number 6, but you can see that like output is being generated in a string format. So the input function by default returns value. Doesn't matter you are providing the integer, float, or boolean, it always will give you output in a string format. If I provide this particular, sorry, not exactly the true, okay, I need to pause it over here. Okay, so I'll run that one more time and we'll pass as a true as a output. So you can see that like this is come as an integer even though I have passed the boolean value. So whenever we are using the input inbuilt Python function that is specifically designed, so over here we are passing the input as to a particular variable directly by typing x is equal to 4. But if I want to pass like some values to the particular x and then I want to print that particular value of basically the x, so that is one way you can simply define the variable assignments. Another one, you can basically define the input function. So if I pass 5, that will come as a print x as a 5. So only thing is that the type, so you can see the type. For example 6, so type is basically coming as a string. So only thing is that you already know if you would like to convert the particular string, that should specifically have the like numbers like 1 2 3 something, not like the any a to z characters or punctuation, that will not be converted into the integer values. So all you have to do is convert that into the integer. So you can define x is equal to input. You can ask Python to give us like any input in ID specifically to the users, whoever is using your Python code, you can ask that. And then basically that same information, basically over here you are getting the output as something like that 5 if you have passed. Then you are converting this into the integer something like that 5, and then you are specifically printing the type. So that's long code. Or maybe you can simply cut this particular cell. Let's just play with that first. 5, then integer coming as a class, basically the type of that data type is coming as an integer. You can simply cut this and paste over here just to see. So that is again coming as integer. So directly putting over here is not basically working properly. So you always have to ask as an input, and then only you can pass. But if you would like to automate your code, you can simply copy this and paste over here. Instead of x, you can paste over here, and you can comment out this. So if I pass this will come as an integer. The reason is you basically are converting this into the integer and then checking the type of that particular integer and then printing the output. So whatever the stuff you are deciding over here, or maybe you can define this entire thing to another variable x is equal to this and then print x only. So anything you can do in Python. Basically you just have to take care of how exactly you are opening your brackets and how exactly you are closing your brackets. So you can play with that in order to understand how the Python variable assignments as well as inbuilt functions usually works. If you miss any brackets, that will definitely give you an error. Syntax error basically comes like if you miss any colons or maybe any brackets, that usually comes as a syntax error. Whenever you have add extra space, that always comes as a indentation error, and it also shows you where that is coming from. Even if in a if conditions, for example, if I write something like that, if 3 is greater than 5, then print some anything. So this, what kind of error we will get out over here? What do you think, guys? What will be the error?
Indentation error.
Indentation error is at second line, but there is a mistake at first line itself. So first it will give,
Colon is missed, so
Syntax error.
so it will give an syntax error. If we solve first line error, then and then only Python can travel to the another line of code, and then it will give us an indentation error. So it always start from top to bottom, not directly. You do know that there is some mistake which is being happen at third line of code, but if there is some mistake that is at first line of code itself, so sometimes it is a bit confusing for the mostly for the beginners. They usually try to solve their mistake at second, third, fifth, fourth line of the code, but they always not able to track what is wrong with actually their first line of code itself. Even though they are actually able to get the like errors, but they can see that like there is no indentation error, still why I am getting, they will try to just tab separated or maybe something like that, but still sometimes they are not able to understand what is error, even though Python is strictly saying that like it is, which is at basically if greater than 5. So that is like error handling basically. So we have like separate very long assignment on how exactly you can solve all the errors for the, but after like 2 to 3 more sessions we will, I basically will provide you error correction assignments, which will be the like bit long, so you will get an idea how, or maybe the from where you are basically getting the error and how exactly you can resolve it. Okay, all right. So another one more thing, whenever you use the input and basically run that particular thing, and you are not interested to run this particular cell and you are still working on some other programs, for example you wanted to do, for example, the addition of 5 plus 6 or maybe something like that. So over here you can say that this particular cell is continuously running, unless you are not completing this will not run. So you can see that like the star is coming. So the, what's the meaning of star is basically the particular cell is being running, and then that's the reason you are not able to get the any output from here. So you always have to basically type something and try to resolve over here. If you are not sure what to do, then you can go over here and interrupt the kernel. Interrupt the kernel means that particular cell will be interrupted, you can see that. So the keyboard interruption error will come, but you basically forcefully have interrupted with this particular kernel or maybe this particular cell. That's the reason you have got this kind of big error. So only using this interrupt kernel command, and then you can see that like this will also, the whatever the cells earlier was running, so this 5 plus 6 was running, but this is also got cleared. So you basically have to rerun it in order to run this particular line number of like basically the 15th or maybe the whatever the cell that is below that. Or maybe you can solve like this. So the basically over here you just ask Python to give us the input as a integer number, and then you can solve the next line of code. So that is like one thing you can always remember about the Python, that whenever there is a star you must have to either stop it. Most of the times in a data science projects that particular star usually occurs. The reason is Python is basically taking a time in order to run your program. So it's not only the problem with that particular kernel is happening or maybe some error have come. There might be the situation that particular code snippet usually takes time, running time, for example 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It can take as long as it can. For example, in most of the deep learning or maybe the very complicated problem statement, like for example building the Google Assistant or maybe the Siri or maybe any voice based application, that usually takes around 1 month in order to run that. But over there we don't usually prefer the Jupyter notebooks. For that we usually prefer the another Python IDE, and with the help of that we can run that very long codes, and that usually can take probably a day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, it can be anything. So don't get confused about this particular star. Sometimes the particular code itself is taking time in order to run. Sometimes something wrong have came over there, or maybe you have not passed the inputs, for example something like this. So you basically are asking any kind of input, so like this. So earlier we were trying input and inside that integer x, but that is not the correct way. You can request the input and then that particular input you can convert into the integer value, and then you are basically checking the modulus. So you can do anything as long as you are asking input. For example basically you have like string, you don't have to pass that particular, maybe you can pass something like that float. Even though you are adding the 6, that will come as a float itself. So like this. Another way of basically we already earlier we have discussed this b modulo 2 directly over here like So that was like one way of checking the particular number is odd or no. Or maybe another way is you can define that particular operation to a specific variable, and that particular variable you can ask Python to give us as an input, and then you are converting this into the integer, and then you are checking the modulus, and whatever the output you are getting over here, that particular output you are checking if that is perfect sorry, that is even number or whatever it is odd number which is coming. Another way, like multiple ways. So there is no strict rule in Python that if somebody give you an code in order to see if your like particular input is odd number or even number, you can do so many different ways. For example, I can ask simply over here the input, so whatever I am pressing over here, that directly over here, and see the modulo of 2, and then basically this. So this is also running. I can also optimize it in order to reduce the number of lines, and basically can provide this operation directly over here, but I basically need to provide this in square brackets, sorry, open and close brackets. So sorry, I need to first, I'll just interrupt the code and then the commenting that I have asked, because I don't want to run this particular cell because I already requesting the input over here as well. So I basically will add something like that 6. You can see that like there are like multiple ways you can optimize, or maybe you can expand the code. Maybe you can do something like this: integer input to the some different variable. For example, a is equal to, you are basically asking Python to give any input, then that particular input you are passing to the converting that particular variable into the integer, that particular integer you are checking if that is modulo of 2 or no, and then you are running it's that long way. So this is also you can do that. It's only thing is that as long as you have so many different lines that you have defined, the Python usually takes much memory than this particular code. So this will take like less memory, this will take high memory. The reason is inside that a, b and r you are storing some information, so there is no point of storing that information in a, b, r. So all those information you can directly pass over here. So whatever the information, so in storing the integer value, that usually take 8 bytes of memory. If you are performing some operation that comes either 0 or 1, again the integer value, another 8 bytes memory. Over here also like 8 bytes, so 8 something like that will get added, and then you are performing some operations. So this is how it compares, but 8 bytes is a very small number, so that's the reason you are not able to compare that how long the particular code is taking time for the running, because it's very small things. But going further in future sessions we will see with the help of time, there is like one library, with the help of that we can see how much time a particular code snippet is taking in order to run. With the help of that you can see that, but we will discuss that later.